Hello TBC people and welcome to the 2023 Ninjago early set rankings. Let's get started. So obviously you guys may be thinking, what am I doing right now? Because normally at the end of the year, I release the Ninjago Set Awards, which is the main awards for the best sets of the year. And we celebrate each category, so like big set, smaller set, best value set, all that kind of stuff. So why am I doing this early set ranking now? Well, this is mainly because at the end of the year, the majority of sets that win aren't actually Ninjago core sets that come out at the beginning of the year, since those aren't generally the best sets that come out. And so to fix that issue, I've chosen to make this new awards ranking, as you guys can see by my very official shirt right here. Definitely not a Your Name shirt, but I've hoping to fix that issue. And I've also created a whole new scoring system that'll hopefully make this judging a lot less biased. But it's also made it a lot more difficult for me to mark these Ninjago sets out of 25 based on each of their categories. And so it's really difficult, but I think I've done it pretty well. And let's get started just by talking about the scoring system itself. Also, this is my first time ever showing anything but my hands-on video, so if you guys do like this format more, please do say it in the comments below. I personally do not, since I don't want to reveal my face at this point, but yeah, without further ado, let's get started. You guys can see that I've made 5 sections to be scored out of 5 each. And so the first section is the design. So under there, I've put how sophisticated the final build is and what key building techniques it used, as well as its colors. And yeah, I think that the design is a key part of LEGO sets, which is why it takes up 5 points. But moving on to the concept, which is also out of 5. The concept refers to how unique the premise of the set is and how often we see similar sets to it. And so if it's like one of those Ninjago bike chasers, obviously that's not going to have a very good concept, since we see those so many times in Ninjago. Anyways, moving on to the next one, which is playability or practicality, also out of 5 obviously. It just includes how many parts there are to it and how many play features it has, as well as how well the play features themselves work. Now, I do not actually own a lot of these sets, so I can't judge fully the practicality and playability of these sets, but I have seen many YouTubers play with them in the past, and so I think I know pretty well how playable they are. And V is for value, and that's also out of 5. It's how well the price of the set correlates to the build and the number of pieces provided. Pretty basic overall, but that has a major toll on the value award at the end of the year, one of the biggest awards, and I'm really hyped to sort of guess what that will be. And lastly, age is a bit of a confusing one, so it's more of a longevity thing, but I wanted it to say PVA at the end, you know, PVA glue. So yeah, that's why it's age. But it's just how well the set will be over time. So yeah, that's my scoring system. I'm not too sure whether I'll keep it for the actual awards, since it was really hard to mark and judge all of these sets based on this, since a lot of the sets I really liked I couldn't actually score that highly, because this doesn't take into account my personal bias, nor does it take into account just how the general person perceives it. It's really just each of these criteria just strictly sticking to that. But yeah, let's move on to the first set that placed last place through all of these sets. Right guys, so I've changed the camera angle so that it's easier for me to record, but unfortunately you guys can no longer see a really official awards show shirt of mine with these sticky note labels on them. But yeah, let's get started with the last place completely. Those two. J's Lightning Jet Evo. So in design, the J Lightning Jet Evo is very simple overall. We've seen J Lightning Jets before, but the ones we saw in Legacy and the original pilot season Evo, more than 10 years ago, is way better than what we got here. So obviously they have the new stud shooters on both sides. That's really just the main giving factor. And the rest of it is really simple, and it's a really small vehicle overall. Now they've had a lot of exposed black pieces on the front area, which shouldn't be exposed, which is what I really don't like about it. And the cockpit piece doesn't actually cover up the whole cockpit area. And so that's why the design of the set gets a 1. In terms of concept, as I said, we've seen them before, and so the concept also gets a 1. And the playability, there's really not that many play features to it. I guess kids can pretend that they're flying it around and shoot the stud shooters at their friends and stuff, but that's really all they can do with it. So that also gets a 1. But in value, this actually got a 4, because this is one of the best price to piece ratio sets we got for Ninjago Core 2023. And so that's actually one of the highest scoring value sets. But since the rest of the criteria are pretty weak in this one, it's probably not going to win best value set. But it has still been nominated for that since it's got a score 4 out of 5 for that, which is pretty good. And then for aging, it also gets a 2. We'll probably see another one of these in another 5 years. And that leaves it off with a total score of 9 out of 25. And that is also the only one that didn't make it to double digits, sadly. But 9 out of 25, if you think about it, is 36%, but that's really not too bad of a score for bottom of the wave. But also for other awards, it also gets nominated for worst set of the year, since it is the worst final score. And as I'm recording this, I realized that it's showing the next set is so perfect. We have this really nice t-shirt label, and let's just cover that next set up on the PowerPoint slide. But moving on to the next set, this is set 8 out of 9, and it is, sadly, Coals of Dragon Evo. So in design, the Coals of Dragon Evo only gets a 3, because while it looks really bulky, and I think it mimics that earth element really well, there's just a lot of spikes on there, and it doesn't really do that good of a job at it. The tail looks very beady, it doesn't look like it belongs to an earth dragon to me, and the front head, I think they could have used another one, maybe a bit bulkier style head for the bottom jaw. It's very blocky, and while that's good for an earth dragon, I think they've done it a bit too much. It just looks like they used a bunch of extra pieces and just clumped them together. Now in terms of concept, this set actually did a 3, mainly because while Ninjago dragons are very common, we get like 2 or 3 every single wave at this point. We haven't gotten an earth dragon, like a full-on set for an earth dragon, since the pilot season. So really I could have ranked this a 4, but I think it only deserves a 3, just because we get 2 more dragons in this wave, which are arguably much better than this one. And in playability, it actually gets a 0. Very sadly, it gets a 0, mainly because they've made all of the pieces too close together, so you guys can see the spikes there are way too close to the actual body, so that restricts the movement a lot. Now the wings are also very, very simple, they just move up and down, and that's just too basic for my liking. In terms of value, it also gets a 1, mainly because the value of this set is not good at all. The price to piece ratio is terrible, and the pieces that you're getting aren't really all that special, except for the head mold. And so I'm not really sure if I'm still getting this set. I do still want to do that Ultra Dragon merge of Evo Dragons, but we'll have to wait and see. But in terms of age, thinking about it, since the pilot Earth Dragon lasted more than 10 years, since nothing overtook that, if this one also lasts 10 years, then the age would be very, very good. And so the final score of this one is 12 out of 25, just below 50%. But yeah, other award nominations go to Worst Set of the Year and Best Dragon as well. But it only gets Best Dragon because there have only been 3 dragons this year so far. So the moment a new one comes in, it's probably going to overtake this one. Anyways, moving on, it is Kai's Ninja Race Car Evo. Now sadly, this is actually my favorite, not my favorite, sorry, that was a bit of a joke. Like maybe my 3rd favorite set of this wave, mainly because I just don't really like this wave as a whole. But in terms of the design, it scores a 5. I really like the design. It's not too oversized of a vehicle. It's pretty tall, obviously. The wheels are pretty big as well. But in my opinion, this is one of the better sized Ninjago cars. But this car looks pretty adorable. It's pretty tiny, but it's got big wheels. And yeah, I think the design deserves a 5 on this one. That's not even a joke. I know people probably think I'm joking, but no, I'm not joking. And the cockpit actually covers the whole thing. Good job. In terms of the concept, it only gets a 2. This is very similar to something that we see in juniors a lot, which is just a small sized car that fits the Ninja very well. In terms of playability, it gets a 3. It doesn't have many unique play features, like I'd argue none, but except for the cockpit maybe, I guess that kind of counts, and the wheel spinning is the main play feature. But it doesn't do any of those play features badly. In terms of value, it gets a 4 out of 5. It's a pretty good value set, and that's just a trend you see in Ninjago core. The cheaper sets generally do better in terms of value, just because they have a better price to piece ratio, and the pieces are sometimes bigger. And in terms of aging, again, it only gets a 2. It's mainly because of the concept being something that we see very often in Ninjago, and so the age only gets a 2. But that leaves it off with a final score of 16 out of 25. That's really not a bad score if you think about it. And in terms of award nominations, it gets nominated for Best Small Set, Best Value Set, Best Vehicle Award, and that is all. So pretty good set overall, I would say. But anyways, moving on to set 6 out of 9, which is Kai's Mech Rider Evo. Now this was really surprising to me, because I did not expect it to do this well. But starting off with the design, obviously, it only gets a free. I don't really like the color scheme too much. It's a bit too much, in my opinion. They've added a lot of gold, which I don't really like. I think they should have kept more red. And the design is very similar to what we saw for Kai last year as well. And the bike itself, actually looks pretty good as well. It's got big wheels. It looks threatening. It's got its blades on the front. And yeah, it's a unique design for a bike. But in terms of concept, it gets a 5 out of 5. Mainly because we've never seen this before in Ninjago, or any other theme really, I think. So yeah, 5 for that. And playability, it also gets a 4. It doesn't do any of the play features badly. It can ride the bike smoothly. The mech arms can move very well. The mech legs can move very well. And the blade is a bit big, but still works pretty well. So yeah, nothing hinders the playability there, unlike the Cole's Earth Dragon Evo. In terms of value, it gets a 2 out of 5, mainly because the value and the price to piece ratio is really terrible on this set. Also, I forgot to mention this, but all of the value is based on the LEGO official pricing, so the RRP at lego.com. But in terms of aging, it'll get a 2, mainly because we'll see a Kai bike in the next few years, and we'll see a Kai mech in the next few years. Put 2 and 2 together, and you get a 2 out of 5 score. But that leaves it off with a final score of 16 out of 25. Really not a bad set overall. And in terms of award nominations, there are none so far because I really couldn't think of any. I'm not sure if I want to put it in Best Vehicle Award, but I'll see what happens at the end of the year, what newer sets come out, and yeah. But anyways, moving on to 5 out of 9, which is Year's Water Dragon Evo. Now, right at the beginning of the year, I thought I would really like this set, and I do still really like this set. In my initial thoughts, I said that I really like the curves of it, which is why the design gets a 4. It mimics the water so well. So obviously really nice color scheme throughout. Many shades of blue, which I really like, mimics water colors really nicely. And it just blends in together super nicely with the gold, in my opinion. It's very smooth throughout, except for those shoulder pads. But moving on to concept, it gets a 3. We saw a Nia Dragon in the Seabound wave of sets, and sure, that is her season, but that wasn't too long ago. Actually, it is pretty long ago at this point. I keep forgetting how old Ninjago is, but it has been pretty long at this point. But we do see Nia vehicles and dragons quite often, in my opinion, and so it only gets a 3 there. In terms of playability, it gets a 3 as well, definitely beating out the Cold Dragon, so it does have really good joints overall, but nothing too special, which is why I can only give it a 3. And in terms of value, it also gets a 3 only. I wish that this value was much better, because I bought my Evo Dragons for much cheaper, but I can't really find anything for much cheaper, and again, I'm sticking with the LEGO retail price, so the value only gets a 3 out of 5. And in terms of age, it actually gets a 5 out of 5, mainly just because I think it's a really nice small dragon that kids can enjoy for many years, to the point where they stop liking Ninjago and grow up. But yeah, overall that gets an 18 out of 25, which is a really good score in my opinion. And the nominations, it gets Best Small Set, Best Dragon, and Best Design Set. So really good job there. I think that it has the possibility to win Best Dragon, but it is currently overshadowed by that massive Zane's Ice Dragon, which you guys will see very soon. And Best Small Set, I think this has the possibility to win it. It's just a really nice design set overall. It's gonna age well, it's got decent value, and yeah, play features, concept, all good. So yeah, moving on to set 4 out of 9. Lloyd's Mech Battle Evo. Now this set is just another Evo set, obviously. It's another Evo mech set. We see these very often, and we saw one for Lloyd just last year, but that was a juniorized version, so this is LEGO going its full potential with Lloyd. That was not meant to be a pun on Ninjago, but it ended up being so, so yeah. So in design, it scores a 3 out of 5, mainly because the design is just quite similar to what you saw last year. I do like how they included more colors though, and the stickered tiles are pretty nice as well. I like the blades in the back for Lloyd's one, and the actual shoulders are pretty good as well. But the main issue about this set is that it's got 2 mechs obviously, and so I need to rank both of them and give an average of that. And so the second mech, which is the skeleton one, I quite like as well. I'm not too big a fan of the color scheme, I think it should have been closer to their skeleton flesh color, but or like just white in general. But they've chosen to go with red, and that's fine, I guess. But I don't really think it's very reminiscent of who they really are. But the design for them is quite clunky. I like that. It looks a lot like skeleton, and there's a lot of bony parts added to them, makes it look very creature-like. But yeah, 3 out of 5, still not bad. Moving on to concept, it gets a 2 out of 5. We see Lloyd mechs very often. We saw one last year. Actually, to be honest, we don't see Lloyd mechs that often, but we do definitely see villain mechs very often, and so it only gets a 2 out of 5 there. And playability, it gets a 4 out of 5, mainly just because there's 2 of them in this set, so the kids can battle them out together, and the play features just work well. There's nothing special again, but they do just work well. And in terms of value, it gets a 5. I think this is one of the better value sets of the wave. And in terms of aging, it also gets a 5. We don't see the bone creatures in official Ninjago, I believe. We may see them in United, which by the way, the trailer dropped recently, so definitely check that out. I'm not going to post any reactions on it or anything, but yeah, just to let you guys know. But I don't think we're going to see the bone creatures again. So yeah, definitely in terms of aging, I think it's going to do pretty well. Leaving it off with a final score of 19 out of 25, with nominations being Best Small Set and Best Value Set. And I definitely would rather give it the Value Set award over the Small Set, since I think Mia's Water Dragon Evo is a much better Small Set, since it doesn't have too much going on in it. So yeah, moving on to the next set, which actually tied with this set, so I wasn't sure which one I would want to put it in front, but this one's the smaller set, so I put the bigger one in front of it, which is Creative Ninja Brick Box. Now, I actually really like this set. I was waiting for it so long, mainly because I was just really interested to see how LEGO would improve upon their Bust of the Year set last year. But anyways, starting off with design, it gets a 4 out of 5. I think the color scheme is really nice. Obviously, it's not a solid design. There's lots of parts to it, but I think the temple area is really good. The training center area is pretty good as well. It's pretty simple, but it doesn't do anything too badly, and the color scheme is really nice, even for the vehicles as well. Moving on to concept, it gets a 3 out of 5, mainly because the concept of this set is to be a creative box, but they've given us these instructions already, and so you're kind of wanting to build this, but they also want you to do your own thing with the pieces as well, so it's really confusing as to what you should do with this set. But anyways, moving on to playability, it gets a 4 out of 5. I was considering giving it a 5 out of 5, but many of these training course pieces don't actually do too much. Like the fire ones are just there, and you're going to pretend to play with them, and the little spinning punching bag, which I tried recreating in my NRG Dragon base thing. Definitely check out that video. But that one doesn't do too much either, it's just a spinny thing, and the temple itself doesn't do much. The only things that really do stuff are the vehicles, and those do their jobs pretty well. Cars has stud shooters on them, and Mia's doesn't have anything, but they do have wheels, and the wheels work well. So yeah, moving on to the value gets a 3 out of 5, mainly because it's not as well priced as the other sets that I gave 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 5 for. And in terms of aging, it's going to get a 5 out of 5. I don't think we'll see another one of these in a while, but you guys can always just have another Ninjago temple to add on to your backdrop of Ninjago stuff. Leaving it off with a final score of 19 out of 25. But nominations, it's going to get Best Design Set, Best Big Set, and possibly the MVP. But moving on to the next set, which is the second set of the wave, which is Jay's Titan Mech. So in terms of the design, the Jay's Titan Mech gets a 5 out of 5. I really like the design of this one. It's really lanky overall, and it just makes it look like a super fit body for a mech. And it just makes sense really, because Jay's a lightning ninja, he should be the stealthiest one, and so having a vehicle like this makes a lot of sense for him. I really like the sort of neck thing that they did with the back. I don't even know what that is, but like it just looks so neat, and it fits Jay so much. He used to have nunchucks, and that just reminds me of nunchucks a lot. I also like the spinners as gun shooters, massive cannons right there. It really looks quite threatening. If you colored like this whole set black, I would be pretty scared to see it in real life. The sword is pretty cool, I guess. I like the mold that they've used, but nothing too special overall. Moving on to concept, it gets a 3, mainly because we see JMechs quite often. Well, sorry, not JMechs, but Ninjago mechs quite often. We haven't seen a JMech in quite a while, actually, but we always see Ninjago mechs very often, which is why it only gets a 3 out of 5. Playability, it gets a 4 out of 5. It doesn't do anything badly, it does everything very well, and I like the side build that can shoot missiles as well. Value, it gets a 4 out of 5. It's one of the better price sets of this wave, better price big set, sorry, of the wave. And so yeah. And in terms of aging, it gets a 4 out of 5, just because we don't see J mechs too often. We see Ninjago mechs often, but not J ones. Leaving it off with a final score of 20 out of 25, which is a very good score, that's 80%, so good job to Jay's Titan mech. And in terms of nominations, Best Big Set, Best Vehicle, Best Design Set, and the MVP. Moving on to the first place set, which you guys can already tell, there's one set missing, and that is Zane's Ice Dragon Creature. Now, I didn't even know it was called Ice Dragon Creature originally, to be honest, but it is, and I can see why. So starting off the design, it gets a 5 out of 5, like Jay's Titan mech. I love the 6 legs, and I love how spiky the whole dragon looks. This is how you pull off the spiky look for an ice dragon. In terms of concept, it gets a 4 out of 5. We haven't seen an ice dragon in quite a while, I believe. Last time was in Tournament of Elements, which is definitely a lot more recent than the cold one, but we see dragons quite often again, which is why I can't get 5 out of 5. In terms of playability, it gets a 5 out of 5, and I really didn't want to mark it this high for playability since it's just a dragon and it does everything a dragon can do, but the wings look pretty good, and you guys can actually like wave around the wings, which is something you guys can't do with many dragons nowadays in Ninjago. Tail can also move up and down, and it looks like a blade, which is really cool. And obviously 6 legs can do a lot, but it mainly gets a 5. Those things that I mentioned would have gotten it a 3, but it gets a 5 because it's a 2-in-1 set that turns into a mech, sadly. But yeah, that's why it gets a 5. In terms of value, it gets a 3 out of 5. The value of this set is not very good compared to Jay's Titan mech, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely get Jay's Titan mech if you'd like more in a set. And in terms of aging, it gets a 5 out of 5, just because if we didn't get Zane Dragon for like, what was it, like nearly 8 years, then we're probably not going to get another one for nearly 8 years after this one. And so that leaves it off with a final score of 22 out of 25, making the highest mark of this entire thing, 88%, sadly. But nominations, Best Big Set, Best Design Set, Best Dragon, and the MVP, so very similar to the Jay's Titan mech. And that is all that I have for today's video. If you guys want to see the end of the year awards, definitely stay subscribed and turn off that notification bell so that you know when that video comes out. This is a very fun video to make. This was a very fun video to make, and I really did enjoy doing this. And so if you guys want more fun content like this, please make sure to subscribe so that I know you guys are enjoying it. Or if you didn't, please make sure that I know in the comments below. I've talked for a really long time now, so my mouth is really dry, and so I'm gonna have some water and chill out, have a nap probably. So see you guys next time. Bye.